boring head setups, 3 examples. In this video, you guessed it, we're going to be talking about boring heads and 3 different boring operations. This video is geared towards people that are new to machining, but there might be some tidbits in there that some of the more experienced people might enjoy as well. Okay, as always, please take a moment to like and subscribe. It's free and it'll help me out. Okay, let's get started right now. So today, obviously, we're going to be talking about boring heads. This is a standard R8 boring head. Now what I want to point out, a couple of things before we get started. This moves your dial in and out. Okay, so as we can see, that's what that screw does. You have some options. So you can put a boring bar in here or in here, and you can also put a boring bar in here as well. Okay. Let's talk about, these are Gibbs screws. You have 3 screws, okay? This screw and this screw here tightens the gib up. This center screw is what you use to lock in place. So you should never really be adjusting these 2 outside screws. This center screw is the only screw you should be using to tighten and loosen during your adjustment. Let's take a look at some of the actual boring bars. So we're going to start with the worst. This is absolutely the wrong way of sharpening a boring bar. Let's take a look at another example. Someone decided to sharpen this boring bar. If you take a look, this still has a good profile here, but they sharpen the face. You never ever sharpen the face. You can either sharpen the bottom, which is the easiest to sharpen, or if you have a special tool where you can actually put clearance on the back side, you can sharpen and put relief onto the backside to resharpen these guys. This is also a good example. This is a tool that's barely used, but someone decided to machine a flat on here, which is a good idea if you can do this accurately, which you would have to put this into a vise or something and then machine it on. But just hand grinding it on, you don't know where you're going to be when you set the tool up. Ideally, this is the best option because it already has pre-machined flats onto it, and it's also carbide, which is a little bit nicer. Okay, as I was setting up this morning, I found 2 more of these guys with flats on them. Okay. The reason why you don't need flats on these, because they're not spinning like this. They're actually spinning around like this in a circle this way. If this was an end mill, you'd absolutely need to do that because of the friction that's driving around from the actual center point. But since it's going around in an arc fashion like this, it's being held in place. Yes, it can rotate, but the chances of it rotating are very slim. And if this isn't done properly by putting the flats on, as you can see, they're done by hand. If you turned around and you set this up in a grinder, put this in a vise, indicated the flat here, and then ground the flat on, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But what's happening are people just doing this by hand, and they're thinking it's like an end mill. It's not. And if it was really required, the manufacturers would have a flat on here when they ship them. So let's say I'm going to set this up right now. It is best not to bench set this up. It is best to set it up in the machine, and I'll show you why. I'm going to put this boring bar in. You notice how there's no flats on here? So I need to align this flat here with the axis here of the boring head. So how do I do that? So I'm going to put this guy in snugly, just for this. So now I'm going to take a ruler. I'm going to put it on the end of the boring bar. I'm going to loosen off this, and I'm going to line this guy up where it's parallel with the axis of the boring head, and then tighten it down. And that's how I align my boring bar to the axis of the boring head. Something else that I forgot to mention is if you grind the face of the tool will actually be behind the center line by the thickness that you grind off of it. So just a warning about that. Internal taper.
I'm not going to talk about speeds and feeds, depth of cut, or how to eliminate chatter or anything. This is just a quick little example of showing you what it looks like. External boring. This one's probably the least common.
Okay, one of the parts I'm going to be setting up today is this piece here. I'm going to be putting a diameter on the outside of this block. You say, well, why are you doing it on the mill with a boring head? Well, the reason why I'm doing it on the mill with a boring head is to show you that you can do external boring. Not because I don't have access to a few lathes. It's just to show that it can be done. Okay, this is an example of external boring. So I'm going to go around, spin the cutter in reverse, and cut and plunge at the same time. Actually power feed down. Using the power feed to feed down. Okay, so if we take a look at the finish, it's not bad, but it's not all that great. I was in high, so then I switched this from high to low now. So it was going at 6 thou, now it's going to be feeding down at 1.5 thou per revolution. And let's see what we get. It's a little bit better finish with the better feed, and it probably wouldn't have hurt if I may have changed the tip a little bit, but it's okay. That's how you do an external bore.
Boring head setup to bore large holes.
Here's an example of another way of boring. You can have it sticking out the end. This is for a large hole. Keep in mind that this type of machine is not super rigid. So if you were to use it in this style, you would have to take very, very light cuts because it just can't handle heavy cuts.
Hey, did you enjoy the video? Do you have ideas for other videos? If you do, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see other great videos, check out my YouTube channel, Shop in Math. And always, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It's free and it'll help me out. All you have to do is click on the icon on my face and I'll do the rest. Well, thanks for watching. Have a great night.